Your organisation runs training courses for your staff and customers. Only problem is it's time-consuming, inconvenient and costly. Take a leaf out of our book. The School of Hard Knock Knocks uses the online training platform by YZ, and our team and customers love it. It's simple to use, supports every media format, audio, video, text, and looks great on desktops, tablets and mobiles. And for a limited time, quote SHKK when you arrange a demo and get 10% off your first year's plan. YZ helps us deliver comedy courses around the world. Imagine what it could do for your organisation. YZ, that's WYZED.com. YZ, online learning made simple. You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Maury Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's a bucket list?
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
Simon Hughes runs Kings of Comedy, a comedy room in the heart of Melbourne. He's also an up-and-coming stand-up comedian. A class clown at school, Simon was naturally drawn to entertainment until drug addiction turned his world upside down. But Simon has bounced back and even turned his traumatic experience into a Melbourne International Comedy Festival and Sydney Fringe show, Man vs. Meth. In this School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast, we talk drug abuse, mental health, the Messiah complex, and bringing light to dark topics. We also talk comedy, like how to promote yourself as a new comedian. And while I have you, a final reminder that the early bird price for the Melbourne August 26 to 30 stand-up comedy course finishes in 5 days' time. If you'd like to try your hand at stand-up or have your current comedy set polished by seasoned professionals, then visit www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com and book your spot. It's also a great birthday present. And now, here's the Kings of Comedy founder and comedian, Simon Hughes. Good morning, Simon. How are you?
Hi, Maury. How's it going? I'm great, thanks.
Oh, good. It is Thursday.
That's right.
A nice sunny Melbourne Thursday. You're in Melbourne, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Finally, the wind and the weather seems to have gone for the day. It's been disgusting over the last couple of weeks.
It has been, Melbourne. Look, I always ask people where they are because I call, as I'm calling you, on a mobile phone. And, well, I know a lot of comedians travel and I go back to your records. Are you originally from Sydney or are you a Melbourne boy?
No, always a Melbourne boy.
Always a Melbourne boy.
Yeah.
Did you ever live in Sydney?
No. I did. I have a couple of jokes about Sydney because I used to travel there due to my troubled past, but that's about it.
Oh, okay. There we go. That's why. I thought there was a Sydney angle, and we'll probably get it. We will definitely get into your troubled past in this interview. Originally, when I started these podcasts, I thought we'd just be talking about comedy, but this is interview number 66, I believe. Not 666, just 66. And it would, and I'm sure as we go into this conversation, we will talk a lot less of comedy and more of personal journeys.
Yeah, of course. Seems to be the fashion.
Yeah. Now, you are a Hughes surname, and that in the comedy world, certainly in Australia, is a fantastic surname. Of course, we've got Steve Hughes and Dave Hughes, and in fact, there's an Irish Simon Hughes who passed away. And so, Hughes, have you come from a fun family?
Yeah, very fun, I was the youngest of the family, what they would call the black sheep, I guess. Mm-hmm. And a hard name to live up to because my middle name's also Hamish and Andy, like Simon, Andrew, Hamish, Hughes. So when I wanted to get into comedy, it was just like, far out, what name do I pick? How do I go with this?
Yeah. And I did a little bit of research on Hughes just because I thought maybe there is a link to comedy in the name itself, like the genetics, the DNA. I found out that Hughes means son of Hugh. So there was a bloke called Hugh at one point in time. He had a kid and obviously a son in this case. And Hugh means spirit or mind. And I guess that's what stand-up comedians do, don't they? They fuck with your mind. In a way,
yes, or take you on a journey, show you one thing and then say another thing.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Like so I haven't mentioned that to Dave or Steve. Yeah, look, the Hughes' comedy group. Well, let's get started. Let's talk about Simon Hughes, the Simon Hughes that we're talking to, you. People who know your name, they may know you probably more so for Kings of Comedy,
Yes.
which is a Melbourne club. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong here. Has it been running for about 3 years or longer?
No, we're coming up on our third year is our September show. I think it's September 7th or September 8th is going to be our little third year show, which has been a journey.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, have you been part of that journey the entire 3 years?
Yes, I have.
All right. Well, tell us, how did it start? It's a great name, Kings of Comedy. Love it. Tell us how it started.
Okay, well, I'd been in the open mic scene for maybe a couple of years.
Yep.
And I sort of was just getting over the drag of performing the same stuff to the same comedians and trying edgier and edgier material in order to get a laugh.
Yep.
And I couldn't see that as really translating over to performing in front of a professional crowd. So I began doing some research. I looked in Melbourne City and I was like, holy moly, there's nothing really in the city on a Friday, Saturday night.
Yep.
So through some friends and nightclub connections, I sort of looked around. I started pitching myself out there saying, hey, this is what I want to do. And then it just sort of all, it firstly unfolded at La-di-da. At first, one of the function managers were like, oh, that sounds a bit tacky. But the other one heard me out and just said, hey, this sounds phenomenal.
Yep.
So we gave ourselves a couple of months leeway out. And September 4th, 2015, I think that is.
Yep.
Yeah, September 4th, 2015, we had Dilrook. He was just Kirsty Webeck. She featured. Dilrook was the headliner, and then had a number of other comedians on as well. And it just sort of flowed straight from the get-go.
Yep.
You know, like sometimes if I come up with an idea and I don't get, you know, if it's like I keep getting no's, I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this idea. But it's just gathered momentum the whole time I've really been doing it.
Excellent. And you're at 585 Lonsdale Street, is that right?
Yeah, we've moved after this year's comedy festival. We did 3 shows a night, two King's shows, and then my own solo show. And we moved to the Colonial Hotel, and it's honestly been one of the best things to happen for Kings as well. It's just been phenomenal. And we sort of, it was meant to be a bit of a play on word because we were on King Street and we were doing comedy, so we were trying to work out. And then I get a lot of playing out of because of and now it's the anagram for it is cock. Now, of course. So, and our website's cock.lol. So I like saying that and then leaving a pause just for people to go, how do I spell that? Yeah.
Fantastic. So open mic scene. So, well, that leads me to the question of, let's go back to what made you get, apart from genetics and DNA, what made you go into comedy?
Look, being like that black sheep, I always, instead of trying to get attention by being naughty as such, like I was cheeky and I like making people laugh. So I went to private school and I didn't pay attention. Like my teachers always said, he's the class clown. My English teacher said I had the concentration span of a small marsupial. Mm-hmm. And I just found more fun in entertaining people. So I did a lot of the drama at school. Like I was in a lot of plays and I was always given in A Tale of Two Cities, I was Jeremy Cruncher, which made everyone laugh in what was a quite morose play. And I always got given the comedy roles and I always wanted to do comedy, but I went down a bad path of addiction. And I thought if you just register a comedy festival show, people will come to your show and you just make them laugh. And that was never the case. So it's sort of years later, I bumped into someone at Station 59 and they had an open mic there and I hadn't prepared for it and just jumped up and it went really well. And I was like, yeah, this is what I need to be doing. So that's where I got my feet wet again. I had been in a couple of raw comedy competitions in early years with not really much preparation or not doing many open mics. Yeah. And, it just didn't feel right at the time. But since then, sort of just following this path has been really opening up doors for me.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we did talk about Station 59 in one of our last episodes with Kieran Butler and the drama that happened on one particular night of, or rather didn't happen, I should say. I guess that was the point of the whole thing. Interesting. So you started off, you class clown, you're doing some open mics, raw comedy. You got to go. I've in fact done raw comedy just to see what it's like as well. It's horrific from where I stand.
It's daunting.
It is. And then you go big, and you decided to start Kings of Comedy. Incredible stuff. And then 2 years ago, Now, I don't know how much of this stuff was in your open mic set, but 2 years ago, 2017, you come up with Man versus Meth, which is a personal story about and you just alluded to it just briefly about Sydney. You had a methamphetamine addiction. Tell us about that.
How long have you got? Look, it was. Look, I dabbled with party drugs and all these type of things, and then I always swore that I'd never get hooked on harder stuff. I had a pretty strong will, and then before I knew it, I was completely fucked, for better use of a lesser word. It just, like, some of the stuff that happened to me, I guess it's really, it's a lot easier to look back onto it now and laugh rather than be that person at the time that I couldn't really laugh at myself. Like, some of the situations and experiences that I use in my comedy show it gives an angle so that those that might be afflicted with the condition or, suffering at the moment, because I did a free show. I used a free show model this year where people put money in the jug at the end, and I got a lot of really positive feedback from people that came to the show. I'm like, wow, that was like me, or my friends like that. Or I even had two parents bring their son who'd only just got off it and needed to hear some positive influence of people that could get off it, because I shared my story on Triple R, one of their night shows. And I guess for me, I know some people that are really secretive of their recovery, and it's kind of hard because it doesn't give other people hope that there's a path out. Whereas there's it's very stigmatized, and not a lot of people talk about recovery. You just hear about all the busts in the news, and your Ben Cousins and all this kind of stuff. So it makes it hard for people to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I guess the main aim of the show was to bring light to a really dark topic, of which you hear so much negative stuff, and I got really good feedback from it. So that I'm actually taking it to the Sydney Fringe for 4 nights this coming September, which is going to be quite exciting.
Well, fantastic. So, and this was you were on meth and was a serious meth user. Was it from about 18 to 23? Is that my understanding?
No, 18 to 23 was marijuana. Okay. And then I had a drug-induced psychosis, and then I was heavily medicated from the age of about 23 to 26, 27.
Oh, okay.
And there's areas I was on about 1,600 milligrams of Seroquel, which is a antipsychotic, which I put on about 30 kilos, and I don't remember multitudes of periods of my life for a time there. And then I sort of they dealt with the drug-induced psychosis, but they never looked at the underlying drug addiction, which I guess I wasn't too open about. And then I got back onto the drugs slowly, and then thinking that if I took my antipsychotic medication, it'll be okay, I won't wig out. Right. And and then sort of just slowly chipped away at, or slowly progressed further down the addiction pathway until, I really needed to reach out and ask for help. And that's when in October 13, 2009, was when I first got admitted into rehab.
Ah, right. Well, I mean, that sounds very traumatic. We're in a great position. We can look back in retrospect and talk about those times. I understand, that would have been horrific, not only for you, but for the people around you. So I believe that that's still rebuilding some of the relationships that may have been damaged over that time.
Oh, definitely. And there's some relationships, with some best friends that I grew up with, girlfriends at the time. There's just there's no rebuilding, that my only sort of way forward with that is just to make sure I don't slip down that path again. And that's, I guess, for my own integrity these days.
Yep. Well, we've gone dark there. Let's bring it back to comedy. So I've done interviews with Greg Fleet, and Greg Fleet's very, very well known, infamous, in fact, for his drug addiction and how, in fact, how it's benefited. I mean, not intentionally, but benefited his comedy. How did that time of your life, which is not a normal life, it's not like you did a double degree, became a consultant for a large law firm, and then went to Bali. I mean, it's not like, it's a bit unusual, right? Yeah. How has that helped your comedy career?
I guess from some of the substances, it opened my mind in different ways. It allowed me to see things through different perspectives and maybe put a comedy twist on stuff.
Right.
it allows me to be grateful these days, I guess, and actually look back on that person and laugh at the situations. Because, when you go through a really difficult situation, you can sometimes look back and go, wow, that was fucked up.
Yeah.
And I like to look at further, like as you say, it's not normal, these situations. I like to sort of go further with those situations based on other experiences friends have had at those times and go, wow. And then you can sort of make these really cool constructs of of scenarios that are so messed up, they're funny, when you get that shock value.
Talking about one of those scenarios, you do talk about Jesus Christ on the Truman Show. There was a point, I believe, where you were running through somewhere in Melbourne, with your underwear, only your underwear, thinking you were Jesus Christ, and obviously everyone could see you because you were also on the Truman Show. You've multi-construct. It sounds like a great premise for a TV show.
Yeah.
What? Is that part of your act?
Yeah, I talk a bit about that because I also covered myself in mud to cover, in Predator where he covers himself in mud so he can't see the heat signals. So that was
right. You've gone through all the sort of early '90s movies, haven't you? Just that's incredible. You didn't? Did an alien pop out of your stomach at one point? I guess that's more '80s,
no, I think,
isn't it? Or '70s.
That haunted me through my childhood, mind you. I always thought every time I had a tummy cramp that there was an alien in there. That was a really hard movie to grow up. I think I saw that when I was about 5 or 6. But we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to have an episode, a psychotic episode, and think there's an alien in your stomach and try and get it out. Like, imagine that's gone horribly wrong for some people.
No, we don't have to go there. But yeah, no, there's premises of it in my routine, and even because like when I finally got institutionalized, like it's actually a thing called the Messiah complex.
Yeah, right.
Like it really spun us out because like we'd be in there saying to one of the other patients, like, how the fuck are you Jesus Christ if I'm Jesus Christ? You know what I mean? Like there were 3 of us saying that. It just really spun us out. Like, how can we all be Jesus Christ?
Well, the 3 of you is fine because one of you can be the ghost, the Jesus and God, right? The Holy Spirit. Yeah. There you go. That's fine. 4th one, then it becomes unreasonable. Yeah.
Imagine that. Then the 4th one walks in the room and it's like, what the hell? Who are you?
Yeah.
No, get out.
Exactly.
We've got an imposter.
So, will you be watching the David Koresh is it a Netflix TV show coming up soon? I think. David Koresh was who was he? He was a preacher in Waco, Texas, and he ended up in fire and brimstone because I think it was the Drugs and Firearms Department of the U.S. But essentially helped burn down his fort. His temple. Anyway, we sidetracked. Have a look at it. Yeah.
No, okay,
he was definitely Jesus Christ in his mind. So.
Yeah. Okay. Oh wow, another imposter.
Yeah, exactly. There can only be one. So talking about mental health and comedy. So how has comedy been helpful in coping with mental health or in improving mental health?
Yeah. Look, I find just it building strong pillars of recovery. So, like if I was hanging around all night around bars and stuff like that, I see it as sort of an unhealthy release. But I guess for me, having the business there, getting what's the word? Like encouragement, reinforcement, like seeing comedians go really well, giving them feedback, getting good feedback it all helps. It's not just an ego kind of a thing. It actually helps because it's got a deeper purpose, what I'm doing there. So I guess having a purpose and some meaning in what I'm doing is really helping keep my head on top of things, or, instead of just sitting here playing Xbox or watching the telly, it keeps me active amongst other activities and things I do as well. And it's sort of, it's providing, a bit of a financial reward, a spiritual reward. And it's giving me a purpose and it gives me a place to, better hone in my skills as an MC as well. So it's healthy activities. I guess the more I can put healthy activities in my life, the more it keeps helping my mental health move forward.
Yeah, well, that's very good. Well, you did allude to it. I mean, you yourself have not been a comedian for a very long time. You're not sort of like a Dave O'Neill who's been in the business for 25 years. But I guess you're in a very Yeah, no, fuck that. I guess you're in a very good position in that you see a lot of newbies, you see a lot of people moving up the ranks. Someone that we both know well, Matt O'Neill, has come into Kings of Comedy. He's a regular there, and he's someone I'm watching closely because I've seen some amazing stuff come out of Matt's brain. What advice would you give to newbie comics who are thinking, yeah, I'm going to start the open mic scene. I'm going to go down to Kings of Comedy. I'm going to try to get, and because you do curated rooms, don't you?
Yes. But can I say to that, I'm in the process just with the venue at the moment on coordinating like a workshop specifically on how to be more professional and how to get on at places like Kings. Because I guess some of the advice would be to treat this like a profession. I remember I used to DJ many years ago, and I had friends that actually went out and paid professionals to get their photos done and their business cards done and had proper CDs printed, and they would go and take a proper printed CD with their business card to like a nightclub promoter, and the nightclub promoter would have this printed CD there with a professional photo and a card, a business card, and then he'd have another like a USB or just, you know what I mean, or just a CD with no print on it or anything. And he'd look and go,
right,
this guy's looking after their profession. I'm going to hire this guy because he's got an online presence. He's taken the time to print his CDs and get a proper cover on them. He's taken the time to get a professional business card. Just there's little elements like that to be approachable, to realise that a no today is not a no in next month or 6 months' time.
And that's great advice.
Because I find it hard. Like I've got now only really 3 positions to 6 positions a week that I've got to fill comedians into, and I really don't go just on performance. I go on consistency, professionalism, reliability, and that can be hard to sort of curate when you've got the paying crowd there. I can't always just throw wild cards in and not know how they're going to go because sometimes there's a bit of a different audience than what you get at the open mic room. So it's just trying to gauge who I think will do well. And like, for instance, Matt O'Neill, his on stage and off stage presence is just, he's a breeze to deal with, which makes him. Yeah,
he's very thankful, I think, of any opportunities he gets. Whereas I have met some comedians who, well, a little bit too forceful perhaps, and then when they get what they want, they sort of disappear again, and they get one chance.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, or you'll get a message, and then I try to break that old pattern of, can I have a spot? Yeah, and then I'm sort of fueling that open mic sort of book a room mentality, whereas I like to turn around so people go, oh, I wasn't expecting to be booked at Kings. This is amazing. You know, great. I'm really looking forward to this now. And then they get excited rather than just expecting a spot because they've asked. You know, I've actually had people that come down to the room, hang around the room. I've had nights where people haven't turned up last minute, and that's how a newbie got on the room as well. So I'm not saying you need to do that every week, but it's just helped. You know, you turn around and go, shivers, I'm 2 comedians down last minute. You want to jump up?
Yeah, that's right. Going back to your analogy of the DJing space, should newbie comedians have video that they can send you or audio? What's the best way for them to get your attention? Look,
it's for me, it's a two-way thing here. I've got to pull my thumb out a little bit more and get out, which is hard, because I'm really busy these days. So it's not just all up to the comedian's responsibility. I used to make it a big effort to get around and scout the local talent. But yeah, I do like video, but I do like to see them live as well, because everyone's had a night when they've crushed and everyone's had a night where they haven't crushed.
Yep.
I sometimes gauge more on the material of their performance rather than the performance itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's right. You don't know how many people were in the audience. You don't know if, you know, in that,
exactly.
That joke might kill on a certain night.
Yeah, or it might just be all their friends again that have seen this same routine ages, but I haven't seen it before, and go, that's going to absolutely crush.
Yeah.
At Kings, I'll get that on. So,
well, that's fantastic. Well, tell us, Simon, what have you got coming up personally as a comedian yourself?
Yeah, Sydney Fringe, 4th, 6th, 8th and 9th. I'm up there just for 4 shows of my math show. I want to get back up there and sort of just keep honing the show, because it's still got a little bit left in it. Basically, if you had seen it at the Comedy Festival, the first show was completely different to the 10th show that I did. So my aim now is to really just tweak it a little bit more before I let that one go.
Excellent. And we will definitely, in the show notes of this podcast, put that in so people can click on that and get tickets and see you perform in Sydney.
Fantastic.
Make sure you hang out with the right crowd, though, when you're in Sydney, yeah?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I'll be good there.
No streaking down the rocks in your underwear, okay?
No, I'm not going to do that. Don't worry.
Although that could be, you could start a new thing. Isn't that how sort of charity groups start up? It could be streak down Collins Street to raise awareness for mental health or something,
Streak to be unique.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. Just not in July. Maybe let's make it sort of January, February when it's warmer.
Yes.
And
I'm with you on that one.
And then everyone has to do a Jesus Christ sort of arms wide open. And it's just going to freak out all the Messiah complex people out there. How can there be 1,700?
Yeah,
Jesuses?
Done. Walk a mile in my shoes, run a mile in my undies.
Yeah,
that could be
there you
the
go.
slogan.
There you go. I think we've come up with this. I might register that right now.com.
Go.
Excellent,
Oh, wow.
Simon. Well, Simon, thank you very much for opening up and sharing how you got into comedy, obviously a darker side to your life, but how you've really turned things around. And Kings of Comedy has got a fantastic reputation here in Melbourne.
Thanks, Murray. Yeah, I really appreciate the time. And, for those listening, thank you as well. And hopefully we see you on the open mic circuit or down at King's sometime soon.
Fantastic. See you, Simon.
Bye, Murray.